my loves. It's Diane Armitage with Best of Laguna Beach, radio and video. Yes, alive and well at our YouTube channel too, at Best of Laguna Beach. Now, here on Best of Laguna Beach Radio, you're hearing my honest, completely objective perspective from a 25-year resident as I talk about the best events and food and cocktails in this town and interview our amazing chefs, artists, and more in and around our magical vortex town, Laguna Beach. In fact, that word around is an important one, as Best of Laguna is morphing into Best of the OC Coast. And it couldn't be better timing for my special guests today as we talk California wine and Oregon wine. So today, veteran Hollywood producer and talent agency owner John Upland has returned with two winemaking compadres. So John's newest passion project is called A Second Pour. And before we even introduce our people here, why don't you give me just a quick little sentence on what Second Pour is, John?
So Second Pour is about bringing people together with winemakers in different venues, either restaurant, winemaker dinners, or these tours that I'm curating between different regions. So each region can introduce their members to other regions' wine and have a connection to the winemakers there. So this is the first of the two regions that we're doing, which is starting with Santa Ynez and Willamette. And then we are looking to do one for Paso and Valle de Guadalupe sometime in the fall next year.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so the two people we have here, we have Byron Rice of Artiste Wines, and you are the Santa Ynez faction, and you are a fifth generation winemaker, correct?
Yeah, my great-great-grandfather grew grapes for Inglenook up in Napa in St. Helena in the 1890s prior to Prohibition. My grandfather grew up picking those grapes. So it's been handed down many generations. And my dad, my mother and father planted a vineyard in Santa Ynez in 1990. And my first vintage as a solo winemaker was 97. And I formed Artiste in 2002. And here we are. I can't believe it's already 2025 and I've made over 350 wines for Artiste, and all of my wines are basically inspired by the art on the label. So we call them art-inspired wines.
Yeah, that's what I love about this, because I've had you in my interview before, and we've actually had you in Laguna Beach with your wine. We had a big wine tasting event there. But what's so cool about what you do is that you commission the painting, and then you decide what the wine is going to be based on the painting. And I've never even heard of that anywhere in my world. And the really cool thing, which we'll talk about a little bit later, is the fact that you're now involved with LCAD, our Laguna College of Art and Design. So we want to talk about that too, because this is an artist colony, and this is why we love having you a part of our artist colony. Now, Teal Walker here, very quietly sitting here, very patiently, the co-founder of Audiant. Say it again.
Audiant. We failed marketing, as I like to say.
Audiant Wines. Now, even though I have difficulty pronouncing the name of that, I will tell you that I know the town and the winery because my brother's family lived there for 30 years in the small town of where?
Well, so the winery is in Newburgh, Oregon. And then, so Newburgh, Oregon. But we have a connection because we live up the street from each other in Dundee, Oregon.
Isn't that crazy? That's absolutely crazy. So I bought a home in Dundee about 3 years ago to be near my family. And when I moved up there, a month later, they all left. They all went to Idaho. So I don't know if that was really a statement. But at any rate, I have a beautiful home in Dundee that I renovated. And we seriously are about 3 blocks apart.
Yeah, we're super close.
Yeah.
So now you have a new friend instead of a family member in Dundee.
And you know what they say? Sometimes friends are the family you choose.
True.
So first of all, Willamette Valley is, of course, something that I love and treasure. And I've definitely been in Santa Ynez. I've not been able to visit your winery there, Byron. But what would you say is so compelling from your perspective, John, on these two different valleys of wine?
It really is a combination of wonderful people, great wine, beautiful setting, great food. I've spent a lot of time in Santa Ynez and one trip up to Willamette. And my trip to Willamette, we just came back from that trip just going, we need to go back here. It was just so amazing. And I happened to be introduced to Audiant through Antica Terra, who sort of helped form our itinerary for the days that we were up there. And it was just an amazing experience. And everybody walked away going, this is, people don't really, well, a lot of people don't know about Willamette as they do like Napa. Everybody sort of looks to Napa as, but there's so much great wine and great winemakers and experiences outside of Napa. And that's what compelled me to do this. I thought if I could bring 4 really terrific winemakers together from 2 different regions and have them cross collaborate, that would be beneficial to everybody, and it would be able to shine a light on these 2 amazing regions and all that they have to offer.
Exactly. So when you first met Bayern, you met him when you were doing your surprise birthday trip with your wife, right?
My 50th. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
13, almost 14 years ago now. But
so
I didn't
now,
meet
how is
Bayern.
it that you two connected? Like you just became...
It was crazy because I didn't meet Bayern at the time, but I fell in love with everything about Artiste and became a member. And a couple of years ago, I started developing a show about women winemakers and distillers. And Bayern and I started talking about the show randomly one day at his winery. And it just led to this relationship that's really grown over the last couple of years to, me working with him as a consultant and trying to help, bring more people to these regions.
Right, exactly. So Bayan, from your perspective, the relationship with John, what has that opened doors for you?
Well, first of all, John is 1 degree from everyone on the planet. He knows everyone. It's been amazing working with him. We've tapped into some really exciting new markets with our wines because of his connections, such as ELCAD and meeting you, of course. And so, and doing that event at Mozambique was really fantastic. I mean, 100 people showed up, and a lot of that was due to your network. So I think to answer your question, I mean, getting to know John has been amazing. He and his wife are sweethearts, and we've enjoyed, kind of getting to know them on a personal level. But working with John and his network of connections is pretty amazing for our brand.
Yeah, it's true. He is 1 degree of separation from everyone I've ever asked him about as well.
You're all making me blush.
It's very handy. It's very handy when you want to get into helping these people market and get out there for visibility purposes. Okay. And so then you ended up in Newburgh how much later? Because it wasn't on that particular trip.
Oh, no. It was like 2 years ago we went up there. And we met Andrew actually in Teal's house. We had a tasting with 6 people, our friends that we do wine trips with, at Teal's house. And it was just like, this was so different than anything we've ever done. And we knew from the moment that we got there, it was like, oh, this is going to be a very, very special experience. And we came away feeling exactly that.
Yeah, that is really, you mean you were actually in your house there in Dundee?
Yep, in the Dundee house.
Oh, that's really cool. Okay, so Teal, I know that you don't have a 5th generation background in winemaking.
That is correct.
You have a very unique story too. So can you quickly tell us how you ended up becoming a winemaker? Well, you're not actually a winemaker, but you are the wine owner of the entire entity.
That is correct. So my husband and I ended up in Oregon in 2015 on vacation. We were supposed to be in France, and one thing led to another, and we ended up in Oregon instead. Antica Terra, as John mentioned, is a little bit of a part of our story because my husband had gone out in a couple of years prior with a bunch of his friends and tasted at Antica Terra and met Maggie, and she had come to Chicago and done some tastings. And when we went out to Oregon, he said, we need to go to Antica Terra and we need to meet Maggie. So we ended up at Antica Terra, and 3.5 hours later, Maggie got stuck in California because she has a project there. In comes this young kid. He walks in, and 3.5 hours later, we're still tasting with him and talking about our love for food and wine. And, it was interesting because I had spent a lot of time in, going to Napa and going to other places. We had been to Italy and other places, and Oregon, when I got there, I was like, wow, so unique. My first trip there, just such a, it's raw, right? And it's just this crazy sense of community. Everybody that we met, wanted to help each other out. So anyway, as we were leaving our 3.5 hour long tasting with Andrew, he was Maggie's assistant winemaker at the time. As we were walking out, he said, if you guys ever want to talk more about wine, feel free to give me a call. And when we got back to Chicago, my husband and I just kept talking about Oregon and talking about Oregon. And I said, hey, Andrew, offered that if we ever wanted to talk more about wine, to give him a call. So next thing you know, we're back on our plane to Oregon and meeting with Andrew, and we were looking at properties, and he decided to join us in this venture in starting Audean. So, you know, if I like to say, if something is meant to be, and we like to joke that that's the Audean way, because things just fall into place as they will and as they should. But you know, people ask how I started this, and I say if something falls into your lap when it's supposed to, that's really how Audean started. So that was back in 2016, and really hard to believe that we're going to be on our, you know, coming up on our 10-year anniversary here next year.
Wow, that's pretty phenomenal. Okay, so between the two of you, Bion and Teal, what would you say are your specialty wines?
Teal?
What do you specialize in? That's going to be a hard one for you, Bion.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start. I mean, for us, you know, specialty is you know what William's known for. It's Chardonnay and it's Pinot Noir. We do make a rosé that's very unique as well. You know, people come and we pour it and they look at us and, you know, they say, what is this? You know, so it's a rosé that's made with intent and intended to rival some of the best rosés in the world. But, you know, really focused on the core roots of what Oregon is and what Oregon is, you know, what Oregon produces. So I think my answer is much easier than Bayon's.
Yeah, it's the terroir versus style thing. I think that's one thing. I used to make terroir-driven wines with my family's estate and really capturing the, you know, that essence of the site in the bottle. And I loved doing that because it was special. It was, you know, working with nature and going through the ebbs and flows of what nature's willing to give you every year. But along the way, I found my unique ability was really more in blending and stylizing a wine that was unique and not necessarily terroir driven at all. And so, you know, I never know what wine I'm making next, which is a lot of fun for me. It's because we start with the art, and whatever I see in the art is I translate that into words. You know, an emotional connection from the piece, it can be translated into a story. And then that story could be translated into aromas, mouthfeel, and flavors. And so like, it's really hard to say what I'm known for, other than I could say all of my wines are very, very different from each other. But the one underlying common thread between all of them is mouthfeel. I'm really into soft, supple, easy drinking wines that can be consumed right away, but age really well at the same time. And multi-vintage blending, which is what I specialize in, helps you achieve that goal.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, I have enjoyed many of your different wines. Most of your wines, how many do you actually do per painting, so to speak, on the average?
Probably three to four on average. I have done a blend that was 9. My world record was 12, I think.
No kidding.
But that was all the leftovers at the end of the year. So I literally just dumped it into a barrel and made a wine. And I thought, it might turn out, it may not, but it ended up being a really popular wine.
That's great.
The one I barely tried to make.
So, John, when you came up with this idea, your second pour, what made you decide to approach these two in particular? I know we're going to be talking with the other two later, but
it was really just the connection to, you know, to everybody. The experience that I had in Willamette, with 2 of the other winemakers up there that I just connected with. Antica Terra is actually owned by a friend of mine, and that's how I got introduced to Teal and to Dominio 4. And it really just came down to, you know, I shared the idea with everybody, and the response was overwhelmingly positive, and their contributions and input have been, you know, I mean, I couldn't have done this without them for a number of reasons. Obviously, their participation, but all the feedback that I've gotten from everybody has been amazing. And I just want to be able to share with people who have a passion for wine and travel, going to new places and nice places, that these are both great regions with great wine makers, and the food in both locations is truly extraordinary.
yes, it is, isn't it?
So it really is all encompassing. It's, you know, spend a few days learning about the region, but also exploring and getting to know, the people behind the bottles and stuff is really, I think, really important. And people want that connection. You can go into a store and you can buy a bottle off the shelf and you really have no idea, where it's come from or what the story is behind it. They're, over mass produced. They're usually not very good wines. But, when you have the connection to the winemakers and stuff, it just adds to the whole experience.
I know that you're organizing a trip in the near future, and I wanted to have you all on this so that they could get an idea of kind of what you put in place, because you do have one that you are putting together in early 2026, correct?
Yeah, so the San Ynez trip is scheduled for the 26th of February to the 1st of March.
Okay.
So it's a Thursday through a Sunday. And the Willamette trip is scheduled for April 23rd to April 26th.
Okay, perfect.
So it's three nights, 4 different wineries, and it all culminates on the final night with a 4 winemaker dinner at different restaurants that are just paired with the chef and really thoughtfully curated by everybody involved.
Okay, now wait a minute. 4 winemaker dinner? Explain
Yeah.
that.
That's
How
what
does
I-
that
that's
work?
what-
That sounds amazing.
That's what I pitched, and everybody's like, "We've never heard of this, but let's try it." And everybody's like, "Okay." So they'll work with the chef and they'll course it out, and everybody will get to pour and showcase their wines and interact with the guests. And it's
Wow.
going to be a very, very intimate experience. I mean, we're targeting 8 to 10 people at most for each experience.
Oh, wow. That's really great. That's really great. Okay, so you're talking 26th of February to March 1st to Santa Ynez, where Bion is involved with Artiste. And then April 23rd to 26th, Willamette, where our lovely Teal is involved. Okay,
Correct.
perfect. So when you're doing these tours, does it include the hotel or do they find their own accommodations?
We're working on that. That's the one component at both locations that we're trying to nail down. But what is included is all 4 wine tasting experiences, transportation to and from all the scheduled events, and the winemaker dinner.
Okay.
And then each region will have something specific outside of wine. So we're doing an olive oil tasting in Santa Ynez. We may be doing one also up in Willamette. And then, some sort of interesting, activity that I'm looking to put
Because
together.
visiting 4 winemakers and doing an olive oil tasting and doing a winemaker's dinner just isn't enough activity.
Want to keep the people happy.
They'll get to
Good.
experience the region.
Yeah. First of all, when you hear about tours that are done at this level, they have 25 or 30 people, and it's more like a cattle call in many cases instead of a very curated experience. And I just love what you're doing with that. I think it's phenomenal. And it's just so great for these people to be able to explore. I mean, I know Santa Ynez is beautiful year round, but I'll tell you, that is an absolutely perfect time for being up in Willamette Valley. Everything is green. It's just absolutely stunning up there. So it's not just about it's the whole experience, the whole travel and getting into these areas and getting to know these winemakers. I mean, the thing that I loved so much about the reason why I bought a house in Dundee, which I consider the gateway to Willamette Valley, is because there's just these boutique winemakers who have such amazing stories. And they're there, and you're often in their homes, and you're often in their small tasting rooms that they have attached directly to where they're making the wine. It's just a very cool custom experience. I think it's awesome.
And each one is very different than the next. That's what's really so amazing, is that there's a common bond, but then they all have their own different way of their story, the way they produce their wine, the wines that they produce. So this is a trip that I did that I want to be able to share with other people, because it was done in a way that was so elevated, and there wasn't really a whole lot of thought that you had to put into it, because it was all laid out. It was like, show up on day 1 and your itinerary set, you go here, you go there, and you'll be well fed and you'll experience some great wineries and great winemakers.
Have you chosen the restaurants yet for that winemaker dinner?
Still working on the one in Willamette. Hope to have that done this week. The restaurant in Santa Ynez is going to be at Nella.
Oh, nice.
Which is right there in the middle of Los Olivos. So that's our host restaurant.
Oh, that's perfect. Okay, so I do think that this is a perfect experience gift that people can be giving each other. It's a great birthday gift. Like you said, you did your 50th birthday. Now, I also wanted to say that in addition to the tours you're doing, you're also doing these winemaker dinners.
It's been a ton of fun. I mean, it started with a couple of restaurants here in town in LA
Mhm.
and expanded out. And Teal and I are working on a couple of things in New York that we hope to have dialed in sometime in the next week or so. And then doing some stuff down in your neck of the woods, working with a couple of places down there to get some of these set up as well.
Well, I'm relieved to hear that you're thinking of my neck of the woods. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
So, Teal, how did you get involved in the New York thing?
How did I get involved in the New York thing? John reached out. Well, we have he reached out and asked if I was familiar with a couple of restaurants out there and if I'd be interested in doing some partnerships out there. And I said, absolutely. We do have distribution in New York, but would love, super excited to partner with John and some of these restaurants to do some wine events and some dinners. And ironically, my family is out that way, so it'll be fun that I can take a visit and see my family and pour some wines and meet some new people and enjoy some new experiences at amazing places in New York City.
Yeah, that's going to be phenomenal. What's the date for that? Do you have one set?
We don't at the moment. I'm still waiting for confirmation from two of the places in New York to get back to me, but it looks like it'll be sometime in April, probably
Okay.
mid-April.
Okay.
Would
Because
love
I
to be
know
there.
I'm looking forward to seeing Bion again, and that's coming up. Is that set in stone?
That is,
I'm hoping we can have at least 100 people there, maybe even more.
Yeah, I think the same people will show up again, as I think John will agree, we over delivered on the wine.
Yes, you did. Yeah.
I'm not sure
Yes.
there's such a thing, but okay, I'll agree with you.
I think we had like 7 or 8 wines available, and then the food that Mozambique put together was fantastic. I mean, they really overdid it on the charcuterie. The table was just loaded with food.
Yeah, it was a work of art. It was really fun. It was a fantastic event. So I'll make sure that we talk about that in Laguna Beach.
Your wish is my command.
So Bion, the LCAD thing, can you talk briefly about that? Because that really turned into quite an amazing happening.
Yeah, we're really excited to work with them. This will be the first kind of JV working with a school to support the arts and specifically art students. They wanted to create a real world experience where their art could be commercialized and they could see real money coming in from their work of art. So that rather than the school taking a percentage of the revenue, we're actually giving back a percentage to the students themselves. And I thought that was really wise of them to give them that real world experience.
Yeah, exactly. So are you working with a handful of students there, or is it more of a walking through how they participate in this kind of joint venture with a winemaker? How does it work?
Well, we're aiming for 12 artists, which would fill a case. I think we got to 11. One of them for some reason backed out, but we ended up choosing about 3 artists from 4 departments, and the selection process was mostly by the professors, but it was a really kind of a broad, range of different formats and color and themes. Each one of them is very, very cool. I was really interested to see how the gaming department, what they would provide, for instance. So some of it's very, very unique, and I just think it's going to be interesting to see all of the bottles side by side. They won't necessarily correspond with each other in a theme, but I think it'll be the first time we've ever done this, and I think that there's going to be a lot of support, especially from the families.
I was thinking that they were just going to be pulling from maybe the fine arts division, the people who normally do the painting. Instead, they're pulling from different departments, which is going to be extraordinary. And what a great experience for people in gaming to recognize that they have these other opportunities and options available to them. That's really great. I really want to do a follow-up story with that and possibly bring in your LCAD president. I know that he's phenomenal. And the reason you got connected to LCAD was through Ruben and Nelson, I believe, who are very dear friends of John and very dear friends of me. So it's just interesting how the whole world goes around, isn't it?
Yeah, John, tell Diane about the Lana possible event and working with the students as well.
So there's a restaurant down in Solana Beach that my friend opened up called Lana, and they've got an event space that they're building out. And the idea is that once that space is built out, we will use that to showcase the artist's work in the space and pair that with the wine.
Oh, that's really great.
And we're looking to do some winemaker dinners there too. So that's another conversation I've been having with my friend who's the owner of the restaurant.
Well, it just gets bigger and bigger. The longer we talk, the more I hear about what you guys have going on. You're pulling Teal all the way into New York. You've got him all the way down in Solana Beach. You've got gaming artists in college getting involved. I mean, you really are really making this a big thing. So I really do want people to go explore secondpour.com. And then I believe that the winemakers here also are offering some specials through each of their online stores. So I'll let you guys talk about it. Teal, you want to talk first?
Sure. So the majority of our wines, especially small production wines, are only available to our mailing list. So you will not find them on the website. However, I did make available about 3 of the single vineyards in the Chardonnay available on via the special link that I think you'll provide that, or
yes.
Okay. So yeah, a special link that you can access via the website, and then a 10% discount off of our Audeant Pinot Noir. And I put up a couple back vintages there as well. So just providing a little bit of access to wines that, otherwise are either, sold out in library wines, or, that we're making available some single vineyards outside of those that are on our allocation list.
Thank you very much. So that code is going to be Second Pour 10, correct?
Correct.
The number 10. And so I'll put that in the show notes as well.
Okay, great. Yeah. And
Yeah,
just,
we
giving
get our
some
own
access.
special page. Look at how much you've got going on here, John. You just got it all. You got all the power. Okay. And Diane, what do you have going on with your deal?
Well, I should have talked to Teal before I said Second Pour 15. Yeah, we did Second Pour 15, so 15% off all the wines on our website.
Okay, so not only do we have experiences that we're actually selling tours of, but we have experiences of tasting new wines, which is going to be phenomenal. I love those kinds of gifting ideas. I think it's perfect, as long as you gift them to somebody that you're going to be able to drink the wine with.
Or bring them back to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Either works.
So, all right, folks, this has been a great little interview. I really appreciate your time. I know that you all have a lot to do, especially you, Brian, sitting there in your freezing warehouse.
A lot of packing and shipping to do.
But this has been phenomenal. I really appreciate all of you being on Best of Laguna Beach. We will have this in YouTube, folks. We're going to have it on audio, on podcasts around the world, and we also have it in replay at bestoflagunabeach.com. So look forward to seeing you all there. And you guys make it a great week ahead in Laguna Beach and beyond. We'll talk to you later.